you believe it's been nearly 50 years to the day since the Monkees TV show premiered? It's
Lead singer and drummer Micky Dolenz is here, and just
the emotion, Micky.
50 years. 50 years is
Incredible, huh?
The remaining members of the band have reunited to celebrate their special anniversary. Let's have a look at this and then we'll chat to Micky.
They were the original manufactured pop band. Monkees launched on a self-titled television show in 1965 and were hailed as America's answer to the Beatles. They went on to become one of the biggest selling groups in the world.
Oh, then I saw her face. Now I'm a believer.
With 4 top 10 albums here in the UK, the band decided to call it quits in 1971. But now, more than 4 decades later, the Daydream Believers are back on tour and celebrating their 50 years in the business. And Micky Dolenz joins us now with still as much mischief as the Monkees.
Clearly.
A bit.
A little bit. 50 years ago, it seemed to be such a huge show, and it was repeated so much. I think it's hard to forget, it was actually only on TV for 2 years.
Yeah, well, in those days you did 26 episodes a year, so in the States now they only do 8 or 10, so now it'd be the equivalent of about 4 years or 5 back then. But yeah, only 2 years.
And in reality, you were put together as a cast of guys to play a band in a TV show, and the irony was that the band had a longer life than the TV show.
Yeah, it's like Pinocchio became a real little boy.
Yeah.
They had intended it because the audition process was much like you'd cast, like Glee or something, where you had to sing and play and act and dance and do it all. So they clearly intended to have us go out on the road. My audition piece was on guitar. I was a guitar player. It was Johnny Be Good by Chuck Berry.
Great.
And Mike was a singer-songwriter. Peter plays 6 or 7 instruments. So they obviously had it in mind, and yeah, it just exploded.
But you became the drummer, and you couldn't play. The one instrument you couldn't play was the drums.
They said, "You're the drummer." I said, "Fine." You know, I learned, like, if I was doing a movie and they said, "You got to learn to ride a horse," I said, "Yeah, fine."
But you can kind of blag it a little bit in a movie. You're playing drums in a band. You've got it. There's no.
But I was a guitar player. I'd studied classical guitar, and so I could read music. And I'd been in rock and roll bands. So, and I had months and months to learn.
And it was huge. I think we got some footage from 1967, right in the middle when the series aired, when you were being greeted like the Beatles. Absolute screaming frenzy.
Cost us a fortune to have all those kids. 25p a head. Look,
Do you remember these scenes, Micky?
No. Well, I remember the intensity. It was huge over here. I remember staying at
That was coming to the UK, actually.
Yeah, absolutely. And we stayed at the Kensington Royal Kensington, and right down that little street there was where Princess Margaret was at the Kensington Palace. And one night, all the fans were out screaming on the roads all over the place. Supposedly, the producers got a royal note saying, "Could you please keep your fans quiet because one cannot sleep."
Love that.
So you were the first manufactured band, weren't you?
Well, I take exception to that word. We were cast, like you would cast any television show or Glee. You wouldn't call Glee a manufactured Glee club. No. It's the cast of a show, like a musical. The Monkees was like a musical on television, you know, and we were cast, auditions, and singing and dancing, and but back 50 years ago, that would never been heard of.
Well, look, I can't believe it is 50 years, Micky. Sadly, we've been beaten by this, but there's a 50-year anthology there, 3-disc set, which is all, I'd imagine, all the great tracks as well that we can all know and love, and it's just brilliant.
And a couple off the new album, Good Times.
Good Times, yeah.
One by Noel Gallagher and Paul Weller. Yeah.
What a treat.
Birth of an Accidental Hipster, it's called. A wonderful tune.
Amazing. Well, look, thank you so much for coming and sharing a little bit of sort of nostalgia with us, and best luck with this and the tour and everything. Great to see you.
Thank you.
Brilliant. Here's Laura with the weather.